Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. And as you can see, today we'll be continuing the RoboCat 270 build. And now this is the second installment in my little build series on this. As you can see, I now have my new power distribution board in here, which is the Matek PDB. I'll leave a link down below. You can check it out. GearBest sells this. And as you can see, I've tinned all the pads we're going to be using just by adding solder. It'll make it easier later on when we're wiring everything up to it. And now, to attach it to the frame, it just goes on in here, and normally I would use these little standoffs, nylon standoffs, but I don't have enough of the shortest ones to keep it low enough to fit in between this plate here. So what I'm going to do, and this should work just fine, is because you can't just set it down on there on the carbon because it's conductive and it will short it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take Velcro. Now this is Hobby King Velcro, but you know, it's just pretty strong, good Velcro. I'm gonna take that and I'm just gonna Velcro it on there, and that should work just fine, but yet keep it off of the conductive carbon. So I'm gonna take this piece, I'm just gonna take the scratchy side, doesn't matter, I don't think. This is just gonna hold it on here. Gonna stick it on right there. Now I'll take my fuzzy side and stick that on the power distribution board. Oops. And there should be absolutely no chance this comes undone in flight or even a crash. Yeah, that's not going anywhere. This stuff's really good Velcro, and then, as you can see, it keeps it up off of the carbon, and it should be okay. So I've never actually seen it done like that before, but as far as I know, that should be just fine. So now we're going to take our wires, and I made sure to put the battery cable ones that say, these two in here say battery, they say bat, so I made them sure to come out the back, which is this part. So now we're going to take our wires, and I'm going to just, you can see me, zoom in there. Okay, let's get rid of the Velcro and the screwdriver. Okay, so now we're zoomed in here, and now for the wires, they come pre-tinned, which is nice, so you should be able to just solder them on after you tin your board there. And you can see this is a plus and a minus here, so we're just going to take the red one, which is the plus. And I could cut these to length to make them shorter. As you can see, they do easily reach past it, but I'm just going to leave them like that because I don't feel like cutting, stripping, and retinning them. So let's just melt that one on there. Need a little solder in my iron, the flux to get it going. There we go. So now now it melts right on. Okay, there's that one. So now let's take the negative, which is the black wire, and let's solder that. Need a little bit more solder, and it flows right on. So as you can see, we now have the first one installed, and these wires will be just fine in between the plate here. So now let's take our other one, get a little more of my iron. Oop, that's the battery one. Okay, there's that. So you can see this. That's out of focus. Okay, there we go. And let's take the negative. And that's on there. So those went on really nice. So now let's turn it around and do the same thing for the other side. Let's get a little bit of solder. Tip there. Let's take our positive wire, melt it down, then we take our negative. Okay, there. Now let's do our other one, the last ESC. There we go. I want to add a little bit more solder on that one because that pad doesn't quite have enough. So But very nice power distribution board from at least the contacts on it. Everything flows super nice onto there. So let me zoom out there. And as you can see, we now have the ESCs all hooked up to the power distribution board. So that was way easier than wiring everything up and using heat shrink. And now I don't really like how this sticky Velcro is at the bottom here. I'll do something for that. I might cut a piece of paper. I don't know. I'll cut something to cover that up so it's not picking up dirt and stuff. But so now the next step will be to take our next plate here, and as you can see, this side has 3 posts, 3 holes where the posts are going to go, and I believe that's to go in the front, because I'm pretty sure for if you crash, there's an extra post in the middle here, so the battery can't slide forward and smash your FPV stuff. I'm pretty sure that's what that 3rd post is. So let me go get the rest of the hardware I need, and we'll continue with the build. Okay, here we are back again. As you can see, I have the board installed here, and I do apologize, I forgot to show you me putting on the battery cable. But basically all I did was just solder another 2 wires to the board here, and I used 14 gauge, and then just put on an XC60. It's not that hard to do, pretty self-explanatory, but I apologize for not showing that. So next you're going to take your plate here, and you also have these 2 little side pieces, and these were the pieces that prevented you from using this power distribution board in it. So these just go in. If you can see these slots here, it's a slot there and there, and there and there. So these just slot in like that. You see they just slot in there, and they're not really, I guess they are a little bit structural, like they add a little bit of strength to it, but they're not really all that important, so you could leave them out if you wanted to, but they sort of protect your power distribution board a little bit and just keep stuff out. So, and it's meant to be there, so I'm going to put it there. So let's get all my wires out of the way, and then we're going to put this plate on. And if you look, there's 3 holes here, 1 in the middle, and that goes in the front to protect battery from sliding out. But first I'm going to, because we're going to put these little red pillars on, so it's going to be easier first if I take one of these screws. These are just the short black ones that come with it. So if I take that, it's going to be a lot easier if I do this right now, and just put this one up through the metal hole and just put this pillar on like that. It's going to be a lot easier. So now we put it over these screws, and the middle holes just fit over those extra long screws we had on before, and as you can see, there's plenty of clearance in there for the power distribution board. And one of my things fell out, of course, so these are kind of loose in there before you tighten it down. Let me get that over. So there we go, I got it that time. So now we're going to take our screws, once again, the short ones. That should be all you have left, and you're just going to take those, and let me zoom into this. And now you're going to put those in the other 2 the holes on the arms that go into those black standoffs that you had on earlier. So let's do all those. Okay, there we go. I have that done, as you can see. Let me zoom back out just a little bit. So now we're going to take some of the other red pillars that it comes with here, and now these are going to slot over the extra long screws that came out before. As you can see, the last 3rd one there. So let me just put those on quick. So you should have, and those will tighten down everything, and the frame should really be starting to come together and stiffen up, as you can probably tell. Make sure you get those, you heard that snapping into place there. You have to get the middle plates into part. So you can see there we have the 2 posts in the back and the 3 in the front. which should stop the battery from slamming forward into your FPV and stuff. Now you can just go around with your Allen key, I believe it's a 1.5 millimeter, and just tighten everything down. Don't over tighten, don't strip stuff, just give it a decent tweak and it should be good. Doesn't need to be all that tight. Okay, there we go. I've tightened all the bolts I have on right now, and as you can see, this thing is super stiff now. I can't move it at all, so that's really good that it's coming together. And now for the next step, I believe this goes on here like this plate here. I'm not sure, it's because your battery, where's my battery? It's over here. Battery should just slide in under here, and that's something you have to be careful of your battery measurements, actually, because there's not all that much room in between these two posts, as you can see here. So if you had a fatter, like a wider battery, or even a taller battery like a 4S, it might not fit in there, but there's pretty decent room in there. But since this build is meant for a 3S, that's probably what you're going to be running. You should be okay. It's going to be a little tricky with your battery wires. You can probably pull it out the side like that. I might zip tie that around there, so it should be good like that. But you can see there's LEDs on the power distribution board, which is kind of cool. Looks like little eyes. So the next thing, like I said, is put this on, and I believe this part is the front up here. So let's... Okay, there we go. As you can see, I now have those all on, and the third middle post does screw in up there, so that's how you know this side's the front. So now you're going to want to tighten all those down just like before. Just give them a good twist there. Just, you'll be able to tell when they're getting too tight. Just don't go crazy on them. They're not going to come out. So, and there we go. You can see we now have the upper deck, sort of, if you want to call it, of the quad built here. The battery just will slide in there, and it should. I'm not sure if they intend you to run your battery strap through the middle plates here with the holes in there, and that might be it, or these things here, these little holes. But your battery should be able to strap down fairly easy in there and keep it nice and protected in a crash. Like I said, if you hit forward down, it should slide into these pillars. If it slides at all, you know, if you have it strapped down well enough to keep it from hitting your camera and ejecting, that front pillar is nice, but you might cause damage to your battery by like puncturing it or poking a hole in it. So just be aware of that. You might want to, it could help if you put a block of foam in there also. But I'm not really sure what I'm going to do next, so just let me think about it and review and see how the rest of the frame goes together, and I'll be back with the next part for you. Okay, here we are back again. As you can see, actually the only thing I did while I was off camera was add this other little black post thing up here, and it's the larger one, and that allows for the canopy to go on. And the next thing that I'm going to do is mount the circuit board, and now it comes with a CC3D, and now it does come with, let me get it here for you. It does come with a little yellow case around it. However, I took that off because it'll go into the build easier, and you don't need that case. But before we put all this stuff in with our receiver as well, it's going to be a lot easier to bind to the receiver right now before you mount it somewhere in the frame. So basically what I'm going to do is connect this cable that comes with the CC3D, and it has all your motor outputs, and now it has up to 8, but you only need 4, so I'm going to actually get this focused. After I plug everything in, before that I'm going to cut the other 4 of them off, so I only have 4 because it'll keep it a lot cleaner. But this one just plugs into the back port here. As you can see, I plugged it in there. And then you can take one of your ESC wires, since these have a BEC in them. All 3 wires, they do have 5 volts to power it. And you want to take the orange wire, zoom in so you can get a good shot of this. So you want to take the orange wire, which is up top here, and you want to plug it into the top one, which says a 1 up here, because orange is signal, and then the red is the plus 5 volts, and the brownish one is the ground, which lines up with it says on the board here. And then you notice these wires here, they only have 1 wire per connector for your motors. And that's because these are only signal wires, because you don't need power from each one. However, the first one does have all 3, so that does provide power to your receiver. So you don't have to worry about that. So then you take your first one, and I'm using a FreeSky D4R2 receiver here. As you can see, the channels are marked here. I'm going to have to zoom out to show you this because it won't focus zoomed in. So you can see the channels are marked 1, 2, and plus and minus, and the top is 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to take this, since this is just going to be 1. It doesn't really matter for the binding procedure. We're going to zoom back in, take the white wire, because that is signal, and we're going to put that on the top right. So just like that, as you can see there. So that's going to give it our power. Now we're going to go in, and for a radio, I'm using a FreeSky Tyrannus, as you can see here. So let me go into the bind mode. Okay, my Tyrannus should be able to hear it. There we go. It is now trying to find a receiver to bind to, and since we have all this plugged in, get the quad here. So when we plug this in, everything should have power. But to bind this, you need to hold the bind button while you turn it on, which is a little bit tricky. I'm actually gonna, I want to show you it on camera though, so you can see all the LEDs, but it's kind of hard. So we're gonna hold that bind button down while we apply power. As you can see, make sure I don't lose it. There we go. As you can see, there is lights flashing on the CC3D, so we have power to that through this wire. And then the wire going to the receiver, as you can see, it is now, there's a flashing red as long as a solid green. So that means we have a bind. So you can cancel out of that on your Tyrannus or whatever radio. This is just how it goes for the Tyrannus. You can just power down and then power back up. And as you can see, it's kind of hard to see, but there is a faint green light right there. And now you want to put all your sticks to the lowest position. So your throttle all the way down, just how you want to set fail safe, so just like that. And then you want to just give the button a quick press, think there. Try a long press. Forget which one it is, but just want to do that. And that should set your fail safe, but you can also set that up in the open pilot configuration later. So we can power all that down. So now we have our receiver bound, so we can unplug that actually. So now next, to actually mount this in the frame here, you're going to need some of these. And now these are little nylon standoffs. I believe they're, I forget what, M2, M5, I forget what they are, but I'll leave a link down to some of those. You can get them places, Banggood, GearBest, not really sure. I got those ones from eBay a long time ago. And I'm going to take these little short ones with the thing here. Also going to take some of the little screws that it has. And I'm going to, where's the board? There it is. So since this one has an arrow on it, as you can see there, that little white arrow, so that's supposed to point forwards. However, I'm going to put it like this, like that, so the arrow is actually pointing that way, but that's very easy to fix in the software. You just have to put in an offset 90 degrees or an offset 270, depending on which way it is, so that's very easy to fix. So that doesn't really matter. So we're gonna put a screw up here. If I can get it under there. Then I'm going to take one of these little posts and screw that in. Alright, there we go. And just 1 second, I'll be back. Okay, here we are, back again. I actually had a little problem figuring out how to get one of them mounted, but I figured out a pretty good way. So we're going to take one of these small ones, the smallest ones, and put it up through. And then I couldn't, or not one of them, you need one of the little screws, nylon screws, and I couldn't get it to fit the right way because it wasn't quite long enough, but I put the screw up first, and then a little washer, one of the little spacers, a little hex nut over that. Tighten that down. Sorry if you can't see this, but this is a pretty easy thing to do. And just tighten that down finger tight, and then you can take your little post and just put that on the last step, and then give it a little tighten with the screwdriver, and then that's right on there, plenty fine, and then your board will fit on there, as you can see, just like that, and there's plenty of room under there, and your USB port is sticking out the side, so that's just fine. So let me do the other ones. I'll speed it up. Okay, there we go. As you can see, I now have all 4 posts on, and they do give you a lot of holes for different mounting, but the ones one back from the back should give you the closest to the very middle, and it is up a little high. I'm not sure how that's going to affect flight characteristics, because on my ZRMR 250, the board was right down here in the middle, which I think is better, because you want to get as close to the middle as possible. So this one's pretty high, but we'll see how that affects it in the end. This is how it's supposed to go together. So now I'm going to take the board, and I forget which way. I think I had it like that. If not, I'll switch it around. And then it should just fit over these posts, but they're not exactly lined up perfectly. So it just goes down over there. It's a pretty tight fit. I don't know why. Okay, there we go. I don't even think I need to put any washers over that. That's down there so tight, but I will anyways. So let me put this on. And okay, I'm only gonna put 2 of these on, mainly because it's not. I just pulled it as hard as I could, and it's not moving at all. And also, I actually just ran out of these spacers. Those are the last 2 I had, little washer nuts. So that's it for right now. I might have put this on backwards, but I'll put a caption of the video if I did. So, because I'm not really sure which way I want the wires to come out. Yeah, I think I put that on backwards, but I don't really think it matters because, well, these wires are plenty long enough to run up under here and connect in. These are actually very nice long ESC wires, which is great. So they're plenty long enough to run up there, even all the way from the back. So I'll be back once I figure out what to do with the next part. Okay, here we are back again, and now as you can see, we're going to just set this aside. One thing quick that I did is I took one of the wires, this ESC wire, and I saw this online. I just ran it through the middle plate. As you can see, it just goes under there, over the power distribution board. It comes up, and I just wrapped it around this last pillar here just to keep it a little bit tighter and cleaner, and then it just plugs into the board up here. So I think that's kind of how I'm going to do it for the other 3 of them. And next, to build the sort of canopy part, that's this main feature with these, this cool little thing. You're going to need all these pieces here, and they're pretty simple to go together. This part is the front, and that is this brings me to the camera part. This little carbon piece that comes with it is made for the camera. However, none of my bolts fit the holes, so I couldn't screw it on anyways. So basically what I did was I put down here, I didn't want it to short on the carbon, the camera, so I put a piece of plastic over it before I glued it on the bottom, and I just used hot glue to get that on there. And then at the top, I just put a piece of foam in there to get the desired angle I wanted. And that foam is actually some of this foam, which came with the FPV kit, so that was really convenient. And maybe provide a little vibration dampening. I don't know, it doesn't really matter though. It's probably about a 15-degree angle that I have there, because if you're going to be racing or just flying this FPV, you do want some angle to it. And now you don't want to go crazy, because this isn't a super overpowered build. It's not even 4S, but definitely I'd say 10, 15, 20, something like that's pretty good to fly with. So you take these parts here, and they all just slot in. As you can see, there's slots on it. They all just slot in. The camera, if I can get it in, the camera just goes in first like that. And then the next one is this piece here. And as you can see, it's kind of rough on the edges there. Get it to focus, kind of rough there. It's because I had to sand these, or not sand them, but grind them down. Because when they came, I could not for the life of me get them to fit in there. So I had to grind them down with a bench grinder. Next goes this piece here. As you can see there, it's kind of making a bridge. And lastly, this piece goes in here. So some of these I had to grind a little bit. So then we put the other side on just for sort of like a mock-up, and trying a little bit hard to get all the pegs to line up at once, since there's a lot of them. Okay. And some of these aren't super tight, so even when you do get them, they can come back out. And then let's try and get, man, now they're coming back apart now. But you get the general basic idea there. I didn't get them all perfect, but that, and so the camera should have a decent upward angle to it. And then basically these parts just go on over it there. I'm not sure if my camera's gonna be in view of the plastic or not, but if it is, I'll just cut out and widen that hole there. But one thing that's really bad about this, I think, is it comes with these little black standoffs, or spacers here, and those are meant to go in the sides and go through, and then you take your remaining 3 red standoffs and you screw those onto there, and then that's how you complete the thing, and then you screw the other one in through the other side like that. However, there's only 3 of them, and let me get them. Okay, so 3. So I think, like I said, there's only 3 of them. So one, I think, goes up front, one goes here, and then another one you can put here, and then since you only have 3 of them, I made this little thing, and it's just a combination of 2 standoffs together that I just screwed them together to make a longer one that's the same size as this. So I can put a 4th one in there, because I'm not really sure, there's no manual for this, and it doesn't explain which holes you're supposed to use, so I just kind of do whatever makes it tight. So I'm not actually going to do this part on camera, just because I'm probably going to have to take it apart a couple times to get it to fit right, but then I'll show you all that I did, and it's just really annoying, so I'll be back when I've done that. Okay, here we are back again. As you can see, I now have this part here, the sort of canopy top roll cage part built, and I just want to go over what I did. So as you can see here, the one of the posts goes in the very back holes, one of the posts goes in this hole here, so you can see if you can do that for yours if you're building this, and then the other post goes here, and that's just wrapped up with wires right now. And then the post I made, I put up here, because if you don't have that, you can't use all the holes to attach the pieces on here. So you kind of, I mean, you don't really need it, but, and you also definitely don't need to have that canopy on if you don't want it. If you want it to look like that, which is actually, I think, pretty cool, and I'll probably try that out sometime, go right ahead. But if you want to use the canopy, you don't need that. You need that extra thing that I showed. And then for here, for the camera, what I did was I took basically my video transmitter, my 200 milliwatt one. You can see it's a Banggood eSheen one. And I just put that under here because this hole is made for the antenna to come out of, because the RP SMA or the SMA connector will fit down through there. This one back here does not. So I fit that through, and I'm using this Fat Shark antenna because they're pretty good antennas, and also it's the longest one I had because I wanted to get it higher up off the top plate here. And I just basically bent that down through, and I'm thinking this is just kind of floating here. Right now I wound up all the camera wires rather than cutting them, and the one goes to the camera up here, and the other one plugs into the transmitter, and then this end goes down to your balance port. But I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to run this down through the frame and either directly solder it to the board or at a JST connector to the power distribution board on the bottom. I should be able to access it if I'm careful, so I should be able to do that to get power to the FPV. And I'm just going to, I can't do this on camera, gluing, because it's kind of weird, but I'm going to glue this onto here, the video transmitter. And also, if you crash, this is a good thing, not having this out, because of this hole here, even if your antenna bends, no matter how it bends, you're never going to break this connector off, which is a great thing. And just basically how this goes on, and I'm thinking, or for my receiver, I'm thinking, here's my receiver here. I made up, it came with this little antenna holder mount, and it's just 2 little yellow pieces and the tubes and 4 screws, so it takes like a minute to build, and you just put your antennas up through there. That's a little bit harder to do. It takes a couple minutes, but get them up through there. And I'm thinking that if I put my antennas through here, let me get them. If I put my antennas through there, I can mount the receiver in the back here, and then run the wires maybe down through here or around the, I guess I can't go around the back, but or around the side here, and because that's going to be right there, so then I can just go down to the board. The port comes out right here, so that should be convenient. And then the antennas should have enough room to mount this either right here. I'm not sure if I want it there because it's a little bit close to my video antenna. I don't know about that. Maybe I can mount it here with some glue, a little bit farther away, or even maybe all the way up here, depending on how I want it. You can see it kind of gives it like a bug eye and kind of cool looking look to it. But like I said, this stuff's pretty fiddly to do by itself, especially on camera, so I'm gonna have to do all this gluing and just mounting, trying out some different positions for the things, and I'll show you what I come up with when I'm done, and then hopefully you'll be able to copy that with your build. So I'll be back when I figure that out. Okay, here we are back again, and as you can see, I have made some rather aggressive progress. I finally figured out how to get everything to fit in here, to fit in the top canopy plate thing. It was pretty tough to do so, and now I did wire some stuff up, so I'm not going to really be able to fully take it apart to show you what I did. Like I said, I'm sorry I can't do this on camera. If I did, it'd just be a ton of errors, and it'd be like a 4-hour long video. So I'm just going to show you how I finished it, how I got it right when I did get it right. So first of all, let's just pull this off as far as I can. So as you can see, I actually flipped the board around. I turned it around because with these cables here, if they came off this way, I found that they didn't fit without this post here hitting them when you put this on, so I had to actually turn the board around, and then this come out the back here. And if you're looking at it all the way on the right here, the far right pin, I don't know if it'll focus. As you can see, I put little dots in them with my soldering iron just to keep track of them, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So they go across like that, and they are labeled on the board. And make sure you put the orange wire facing upwards. So the orange wire goes to the top, which is signal wire, and then plus and minus are down below that. And like I said, once again, I'll show you here. To get those in order, the order number is, I'll put them on the screen right now as well, but 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 motors. So this motor is number 1. You wire the ESC wire up from that to the number 1 spot. Then you take this one to number 2, this one to number 3, and this one to number 4. And now the way I did that with the back two, since they were so long, it didn't have to go very far. I just had to wind these around the posts and then up through here. And now it's not the best solution, I don't think, but I really couldn't find any other convenient way to do it. And then in the front here, I just wound them up only a little bit because they still had to run up through here. And then I ran them under the board and they come up over here. Now let's talk about the top plate, what I've done here. As I said before, I glued that receiver in. I put it slightly off center so the connector itself would be in the center so the antenna would come out the hole. And I just glued it in there, and then I ran the cables. I actually trimmed the cable going to the camera. This cable here I actually cut and got rid of a bunch of that, probably about 6 inches of extra cable there, because that was just a pain to have around there, and you can't wrap it around here because that will interfere when it goes on the frame, so you have to have that clear as well. So pretty much, that was just difficult. And then it just plugged right into there. And then as for my receiver, as you can see, this cable here that comes with your CC3D has all these ports, and I have cut these 2 off because I don't need them. As you can see here, I cut them off. Here's the yellow one. And I just put a little drop of glue over the end of those, and there's no problem there. Just to keep the extra clutter out of the way, because you only need your first 4, which the first 3 wires are the number 1, because that's the one with the power in it, and then the white, try and show you this. Let me zoom in a little bit. Might be a little bit easier for me to show you. Okay, so here, let's see. These 3, the black, red, then white, that is channel 1. The next wire is light blue, is channel 2. And then the next one over is a yellow, which is channel 3. And the last one is a green, which is channel 4. And I cut the other 2 off, like I said, since we don't have 6 motors. And just take this up. And I also did take my, gotta zoom back out, my FPV, the thing that had the balance plug on it, I cut that off, and I ran those 2 wires down under into the, I just soldered them to the power distribution board. So I didn't put a plug on there, so it'll just be on when I turn the quad on. Then as for the front, as you can see, the camera, it just fits in pretty cool like that, and it looks pretty cool. It does look like a RoboCat. And then in the front here, I mounted my receiver, my D4R2 right there. On that one little plate, I just glued it straight down, and then put the pins on it like this. And now this is channel 1 on the right here, so you have to put the white wire all the way to the right, because that is the signal, and the top of it here is channel 1, and down below it is channel 2, so that's the blue wire. You can see, I gotta zoom in a little bit again, hopefully. Down there is the blue wire, and since it only has 1, there's only the signal on that pin. You put it all the way to the right. Then over here on the top left is channel 3, so you put the yellow on the left, and then down below it is that green. You can't really see it, that green in there, and you put that to the left down below it. And then I just ran my antennas up into this little mount here, which I glued onto the plate, and just ran the antennas up through there. And they had to bunch up just a little bit because they're a little bit too long for that, but that should be perfectly fine. And I don't think I'll have any issues between interference between the two, 2.4 gigahertz and 5.8 gigahertz, but we'll know more after I get flying and testing this. But other than that, that looks pretty much done up to this point, and I'm sorry I couldn't show you, but like I said, I have to figure it out first, because this is a kind of complicated build if you ask me. And then these cables, I just kind of have to, so this isn't really a canopy you can take on and off easily. It's kind of more of a permanent one, but it still looks pretty cool. So the next step will be to add your actual canopy parts. because other than that, I think I'm pretty much done. Actually, I'm only going to add the front part here, because if I add these side parts, I'll show you here, I won't have access to the CC3D to program it on the computer, which will be part 3 of programming and setting that up to work with your radio and such. But right now I will put this on. So you're going to need the camera. There's the hole down here, as you can see there, and you're going to take one of your black pillars and you're going to thread that through into that black plate that you put on earlier. Let's get it in there. And then take another one and do the same thing on the other side. So at this point you should be pretty much done with everything internally. Okay, there we go. I have that in. It was kind of hard just because everything doesn't line up quite perfectly, so I had to put some pressure on it to get it to go in. And it actually will open up just a little bit, but that tightens them, so you're not going to get much more than that, as well as your cables. You can't pull them open. But the back one should just be good like that. But I guess that's it for part 3 of the build. Let me just take a battery quick and plug it in and see if we have power to everything, to see if we wired it up all right. So as you can see, hopefully down in the power distribution board, we have lights there, so that's good. We have a light on the receiver blinking, which means we have power to that. And there's lights on the flight controller, as you can see in there, which is also good. So everything seems to be working so far, as I can tell. And there are lights on the video transmitter, if you can see those 2 red ones up in there. So everything has power and seems to be working, so all of the physical wiring should be right, as long as you got your channel order right, or your motor order. So 1, 2, 3, 4. But other than that, looks pretty good. So that was the end of part 3 of the RoboCat 270 build series I've been doing. Part 2. Part 3 is yet to come. Stay tuned for that. That'll be configuring the CC3D to work and fly your quad. Stay tuned for that, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.